I listened to a podcast recently that said about 22 to 24% of Americans have a passport. I wasn't sure about this, so I did a little bit of Googling, and of course, it's not correct. It's actually, it was about 27%, but in 2007, when the new laws went into effect that said you had to have a passport to go to Canada or Mexico, the numbers started rising, and today we're at about 42%. That's still way less than the UK. They have about double the percentage of citizens with passports, and Canada and Australia, it's about 60% of citizens with passports. So what we need to do is everyone with a passport tell one friend that doesn't have a passport in the next year that they need to go to travel.state.gov and sign up for one. Okay, so if you do have a passport and are thinking of buying a home or a condo here in Mexico, and specifically here in Zihuatanejo, then this video I'm making is for you. Over the last couple months, I've had several people reach out with questions about building a home or renting or the purchase process in general. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to give some suggestions that may help give some insight to anyone looking to get involved in the Mexico real estate. Before you buy, you should put together a list of questions that will give you an idea of what you want out of your Mexican home. Are you planning on renting it? How long do you expect to own the property? Do you want a condo or a house? Do you need to be located on a street with high-speed internet access? If you buy a condo, what's the ideal number of units that your complex would have? What kind of rules do you want in an HOA? How do you feel about HOA dues? What's the ideal amount that you pay per month? Where do you want to live? Close to the beach or further from the beach, up in the hills with a more panoramic view? Would you rather be close to Centro, have a view of the mountains, be in a quieter area with less people? So those are all things that you should consider as you start your search. I also think that you should be open to different ideas. If you're planning on living in your home full-time for the next 20 years and are on a fixed budget, then keep an open mind to living in a typical Mexican neighborhood. We spent 4 months in an apartment. It was pretty awesome. There are obviously some negatives with the noise, but it's a lot less expensive. Another option is buying land and building on it. I know a lot of people don't consider that as a possibility, but with the right architect, it can end up being a lot cheaper than a condominium. The general rule is that it's easy to buy, hard to sell. Realtors don't work the same way in Mexico as they do in the United States. In most buy-sell agreements, the realtor is going to represent the buyer and the seller. It's often a good idea to hire an attorney to help you through this process. I know people that have purchased down here by doing owner financing, but the only other way really is cash. I don't know anybody who has done a Mexican or a mortgage through a Mexican bank. Probably another reason why it's so hard to sell. I've already done some videos on the closing cost and the other fees with purchasing a property, as well as a video on the rental taxes. So I'll touch on some other things here. If you do end up buying a property, then you should get your Mexican residency. Residency gives you a lot of benefits. For example, it can lower your tax liabilities for when you rent. It can lower your tax liabilities when you sell your home, and for paying your annual property taxes as well. You don't have to worry about overstaying a tourist visa. It's usually 6 months, But if I've heard that if they see you coming back and forth, they could lower it to 30 days or 60 or 90 or something much shorter than a 6-month tourist visa. So you just kind of avoid that hassle. And also now an additional benefit is with the vaccine rollout, we're eligible for getting the vaccine as residents when it gets to become our turn. If you are set on buying something down here, I think it's important to realize that any purchase should be considered a long-term investment. Obviously, I think it's a good investment here, but we haven't tried to sell anything yet. If you are buying for the rental income, then it's pretty close to impossible to manage it from afar. You'll need a property manager or someone local that you can trust to take care of any issues. If you are not renting your casa, then you'll still want to pay someone like the housekeeper to stop by once a week, check on things, turn the faucets on, flush the toilets, and stuff like that. Here in Ziwa, there are two very distinct seasons for renting. November through April is the high season, and then the summer hits and hardly anyone is visiting and renting. So keep that in mind. If you are buying a condo with the intent to live there during the high season or rent it during the low season, it's almost not worth even trying to rent. Okay, if you are working the numbers right now, then expect in an average year 18 weeks to be rented. If your average rental price is $200 a night, then after amortizing all your expenses over the course of the year, HOA, property management, Mexican taxes, household expenses and repairs, housekeeping, rental website fees, utilities like electricity, water, gas, your accounting, your bank trust fee, the internet, and cable, property taxes, you'll end up spending on average $140 per night in fees, and you'll have a take home of about $60 per night. But if you plan on retiring here in the future or vacationing several months per year now and want your own home, renting is one way to make it happen. And over 20 or 25 years, you should be able to get back your initial investment and still own your house outright. This house right here, the previous owner had it for 15 years. I don't think he put 12 pesos into maintaining it over that 15-year period. He bought it as a rental property, and his family occasionally stayed here as well. He told me when we were looking at it that he made enough in rent each year to cover all of his expenses, and he usually made a few extra bucks on top of that. When he sold it to us, even after all of his realtor fees, all the taxes, he still doubled what he paid for it. That gives me some hope. All right, thanks for watching. Take care.